Hey there, I hope you are doing well. So, today I'm making a little video on why it is so important for you to actually step away from seeking any validation, any external validation on your spiritual awakening journey. And at some point on your journey, you're going to have to make this profound shift where you go from wanting to learn everything, wanting to seek everything, to really just trusting the process and surrendering to this journey. Now, it can take a little while to get there, and this is going to vary for each individual, but it is really important that you get there, whether you're a light worker, whether you are a twin flame, whether, you have a higher calling or not. But the point is to really trust that inner compass and start to rely on that versus always seeking the answers through YouTube, through, the internet, through friends and family in terms of having conversations with them, trying to figure out why things are happening the way that they're happening. And really just, relying on your own self and your inner intuition and guidance, understanding that there is a higher power that's leading you and guiding you and trusting that journey. So this video is going to talk about 3 key reasons why it's so important to really stop that external validation and that seeking on the outside so that you can really move towards that inner guidance. Now, the first reason why you are going to actually hinder your progress on your awakening journey if you are constantly seeking answers on the outside, that validation on the outside, is because it will prevent you from entering your flow state. Now, understand that when you go through a spiritual awakening, you are actually breaking that lower frequency, that lower state of consciousness for a higher state of consciousness. That means that you are coming from a place of peace. You are coming from a place of having a regulated nervous system, and therefore you are not anxious. Because if you are constantly seeking answers on the outside, you have to ask yourself, why would you want to do that? It's either you are not trusting your process, you are nervous about what's to come, and therefore you're not actually anchored in the present moment, but really working towards the future, which is counterproductive to what you're really here to do and going through this spiritual awakening journey. So you want to really find ways to calm yourself, find ways to really help regulate your nervous system so that you can actually focus on just the present moment. Once you are anchored into that present moment is when you can actually enter a flow state. Now, why would you want to enter a flow state? Well, let's say you have a higher calling. Let's say, you are meant to be now a creator of something. Now, you won't be able to enter that flow state unless you are in the present moment where you can tap into your intuition, tap into that higher guidance that's going to allow you to unlock those gifts that you're going to need to be able to do what you're here to do. That's if that is what your calling is after a spiritual awakening. It is important to know not everybody that has a spiritual awakening will end up doing something with a higher purpose or higher calling, but nevertheless, being in the present moment is going to be key for everybody, regardless of, what you're meant to do and what you're here to do, whether or not you have a special purpose or not. Reason number 2 that you want to really get away from seeking external validation at some point on your journey. And of course, this is going to vary in terms of timing for everyone. There is that important phase of your spiritual awakening journey where you want to learn, where you want to understand what you're going through, such as, what is the void? Why am I experiencing what I'm experiencing at this time? Why am I going through the physical symptoms? That's true for if you're going through a Kundalini awakening. But all of those answers are, valid at that point because that's something you're just learning. You're very new to the journey. So I'm really talking about when you are further down in your journey, maybe a couple of months, possibly, hopefully over a year at least. And, that's when you realize that, wait, I have all the answers that are within me. I do not need to be seeking these outside. Now, the second reason why this is so important is because when you stop to seek those answers on the outside is when you start to rely on that information that's available to you on the inside. We always say that, it is true that, having gone through so many lifetimes, you actually already have all the knowledge and the answers within you. And really, what you're doing as you awaken to a higher state of consciousness is you're really just unlearning what you've learned so far and remembering who you truly are. And so you want to be able to unravel that information that's already within you. And as you do that, you are going to get to have the answers that you need to progress in your life, to progress on your journey. And the only way you can really get there is if you stop that outside chatter and really start to hone in on that information and that intuition from within. Last but not least is reason number 3, and this actually has to do with practicing detachment. Now, when we are constantly seeking validation on the outside, that means we are associating our, happiness or whatever it is that we're seeking, maybe possibly fulfillment, based on certain outcomes. Now, to detach means that you move away from that and learn to be happy regardless of how things turn out. And, if you are, for example, let's say waiting and hoping for something to happen, let's say it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to turn out, you should be coming from a place of detachment where, regardless of the outcome, you understand that things are working out the way that they're supposed to, because really by grand design, there is a higher power really governing things the way they're meant to be. So practicing detachment is really going to help you in the situation, but that only comes with letting go of the control, surrendering to the journey, surrendering to the divine, and that can only come once you really let go of circumstances in the 3D and really not holding on to them too tightly. Therefore, it's almost critical that you stop seeking that validation on the outside so that you can really start to detach and move towards this direction on your journey. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.